Perfect.
Good?
Good.
All right, Pappy, you good?
We're good.
Quiet on the set.
Quiet on the set.
And action.
Greetings, my name is Austin Baker. My father, Tom Baker, is here behind the cameras. We own Epiphany Outdoor Gear. We specialize in wet weather fire starting tools, including the Pocket Bellows, which is a collapsible survival bellows. Allows you to push oxygen into a fire while keeping your face away from the fire, compressing that oxygen and focusing it directly where that fire needs to be. What we're going to do is kind of do a little simulation of being out in the boonies a couple days after a couple hard rains. We appear in the Bradshaw Mountains in Prescott, Arizona, in the Prescott National Forest. We've experienced about 2 days of rain and everything's pretty much soaked. We've got a little bit of drying, but for the most part all our fuels on the ground are soaking wet. So what we're going to do is show you what adding oxygen with our fire starting kit will get you in a fire situation, in a survival situation. Now this is our Pocket Bellows. It's a collapsible fire mouth bellows. Our kit also comes with an Easy Ignite ferromagnesium striking tool and an 8-pack of our Baddest Bee Fire Fuses. These fire fuses are 100% natural, made in America. My father and I make these. We have a shop that we make these out of in Arizona.
Yes, little woman, you wear the finest rags and you know how to dress so cool. I'm aware of your Midas touch, but don't play me for such a fool. Woman, you know all the things reserved for the social elite. But woman, you got a lot to learn about kissing the poor boy's feet.
We've gathered the odds and ends for the fire start. Some soaking wet pine needles that are around. I've looked around, I couldn't find any dry pine needles, which helps, but so we have to cope with the wet. Happy if you'd pan around, you'll notice that grasses are around. These are wet also, but they will ignite if you push enough oxygen through the fire. So I've got some tinders here, some kindling, soaking wet kindling. Typically you don't like to have to use this, but if you're in a situation, you're gonna have to use what you have. Here's my few morsels of pine cones, of dry pine cones I found, and a little bit of dry wood. Everything else is soaking wet. You're gonna want at least a good pile, yay big, for the rest of the night if you're really stuck out here. But for the most part, this is a good fire starting with the bellowing technique in wet conditions. Amount of wood that you're going to need to gather.
Okay folks, we sped up this video of the build to spare you 4 minutes of your life. There are plenty of online videos out there if you would like to see a step-by-step demonstration of this process. The monstrosity you see being built here is your run-of-the-mill teepee-style build, which layers kindling in a conical shape over a mound of tinder. In wet conditions, we use about 3 times as much tinder and kindling as you would in dry conditions. Since we are using a pocket bellows to compress and focus additional oxygen into the fire, we build this teepee as compact as possible.
Falling down the stairs, all the neighbors looking mouths agape, standing on the chairs, saw the leading man standing on the street down below with a net. Well, they had the place surrounded, there was no place left to go.
All right, well there you go. Now I know a lot of you scout leaders will look at me and say, what the heck are you doing here? You have way too much tinder, way too much stuff built right on top of this. You're not going to get enough oxygen in the middle of this. Well, that's the beauty of the Pocket Bellows, is this allows you to push more oxygen into this fire. And when you have soaking wet fuels, what you want to do is get more oxygen in, creating more heat, more drying potential. Next thing you know, you're going to have a fire standing like this. Now what we do with the Baddest Bees is this gives us a nice platform in wet conditions. And yeah, we also agree that you should always run around with a lighter if you have the opportunity, but what happens when your lighter gets wet? So what we use is a striking tool and our Baddest Bee Fire Fuses. And since we're coping with wet fuels, we're going to use 3. You can get away in dry conditions using just 1, but in wet conditions we're going to use 3. Now we make these with beeswax and olive oil. They are 100% organic, like I said. We kind of moved away from the hexamine-based, petroleum-based starters out there, which a lot of folks say it's not very good to breathe, put it that way. They work very well in a survival situations. You use what you have to use. But we kind of like running around with these because it gives us an opportunity to use a 100% natural product that's made in America, you know? So what we do here, you can see tutorials on pocketbellows.com exactly how to use these Baddest Bee Fire Fuses. But what you're doing is flaring out the outside to make it look like a flower and then fluffing the inside of it. You want to fluff it to make it look like a little cotton ball. And that's going to be a nice little base with the oils and the wax in the middle of it to get your fire rolling. You're going to stick a couple of these in the middle there. Now in this process, fire starting with wet fuels, it takes practice. Now I've been doing this a while, so it's a little bit easier for me, but what we recommend is starting off with dry fuels, practicing with dry fuels, and moving into wet conditions, wet fuels, and practicing before you end up out in the field and not knowing exactly how to use the product. It doesn't take much. It's like riding a bike. Once you figure it out, once you see how the fire reacts, everything will be fine. So we're going to get our last Baddest Bee up and running. Nice flare and fluff. This beautiful little flower. Fluff in the middle. And these things are weatherproof. They're breeze proof. Unlike a match, which is going to go out on you real quickly. One strike. Your ferromagnesium rod here, or your Easy Ignite. If you get a new kit, make sure you scratch off the black coating on the outside. That's where your ferromagnesium is. So this one's already been scratched off. So one strike, you have a nice base fire. It's breeze proof. It's not going out on you. You're just gonna hit this right in the middle. Put that on another Baddest Bee. Now you're gonna let your fire do its thing and just slowly add oxygen. Let the fire tell you what it wants in terms of the oxygen. Slow. Love in there. And what I've done is I've blown it out. So what you want to do is make sure that you're ready on hand for an additional Baddest Bee. You see where your fire is running to. And this fuel is so wet, just be prepared for adding another Baddest Bee where and when you see it. Flare and fluff. Yourself a nice little flame back in flame. So back into business. Like I said, don't blow too hard because you'll blow it out. Just slow, even breaths.
Let the fire tell you where it wants the oxygen. And the whole point of this process is to create a base of coals. Now, like any worthy survival technique, it takes practice. You're going to spend time. Do yourself a favor. Learn early, as opposed to getting stuck out in the middle of nowhere and not explaining to yourself exactly how this works. Voila. Fire from wet fuels.
What's all the spit? And cut.
Folks, we at Epiphany Outdoor Gear thank you for your time, your interest in our unique wet to dry weather fire starting survival gear, and for coping with our attempt at videography. We also appreciate your support in sharing our videos with your friends and families who love the outdoors as much as we do. If you know any scouting leaders out there, please pass this video on to them. We've found that scouting leaders love to use our bellows as a tool to illustrate and teach their scouts about fire safety and the importance of oxygen in wet conditions. We also do a significant amount of fundraising for individual scouting units. So if you know a scouting leader out there, pass it on. They will appreciate it as much as we do. Music in this video was done by the Darktown Poker Club circa 1973. Special thanks to my father Pappy, to brother J.D. Davis, and to my uncle Jim. For more information about our gear or to buy EOG products, find us in your survival gear section of your local camping gear store or at pocketbellows.com. And thanks again, folks.
Take 5, then stop. That's enough. Now when you bet, put up chips, 'cause I don't like it when you shy. You get busted, go on out and get some. I'll be here by and by. Pass them cards for me to shuffle every time before you deal. Anything wrong,
I must see.
'Cause I mean, y'all ain't to keep playing the game now.
Go now, Mr. Holy. Y'all gonna play this game according to me.